are you? Can you? Okay.
Oh. Fine, and you?
I'm good, thank you.
So happy to have you here. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Espérense, ¿qué pasó? Se desconectó, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Ok. O sea, se conectó antes, güey, no son ni las 11. Bueno, pero
Falta
ya...
un minuto.
Sí, pero ya se había conectado, güey. Se desconectó sin querer. Espérenme. Bueno, ya la voy a admitir otra vez. Ahí está. Les voy a poner mute, esperen. No la veo. Bonnie, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear and see you. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry about that. I've been having all sorts of problems with Zoom on my phone lately, so.
Don't worry. Bonnie, thank you so much. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for the invitation. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks. We're super, super happy to have you here. We were gonna read your book like at the end of the summer, but since you said yes to this Zoom, we pushed it over here and we haven't even discussed it. They've read it, we've all read it, but we haven't discussed it. So this is like a treat getting to talk to you before the
Oh, that's
book club
great.
meeting.
Okay. Oh, I love that. That sounds great.
Thank you. We're recording the session and just my English is a little rusty, so bear with me and if I get kind of nervous with that, okay?
Oh my gosh, your English is perfect. You've got to be kidding me.
Thank you. I'm kind of nervous, so it's like I'm talking like not so well, but thank you. What we normally do, Bonnie, is they send me their questions for you and I write them down like by topics and then I have them here. I don't know if that's how you want to proceed or do you want to do like something else?
No, that's absolutely perfect. I love that.
Okay, thank you. Well, the first question is, was it difficult to get it published?
Yes.
Tell us all about it.
I mean, actually, this one wasn't as difficult. I'd written another book before this, and I couldn't get anyone to look at it or read it. I couldn't get any agent to read it. And finally, one agent did read it, and she told me that she liked the voice, but that she was put off by the page count and refused to look at it further. I know. And so I ended up writing this book, which is shorter. And then I met my agent here in London, and that was just kind of lucky. And I didn't have to send it out because she read the first 20,000 words and she ended up signing me on a partial, which was just bizarre. But anyway, so it was really hard to get published, but this book came a little easier than the last one.
But I'm not surprised at all that just reading a part of the book, he fell in love with it and signed you. It's spectacular.
Well, I thought she was crazy. And I had, for some reason, I mean, I'd written about 80% of it, but she only read that first 20%. And then she wanted me to go ahead and finish it and then turn it into her. So I still had 20% for me, and I was working, was still going to take a long time. So I finally finished it. She was very patient.
Well, we're so happy. I went to a Barnes and Noble like two weeks ago, and it's named the Book of the Year, Bonnie. We're so excited.
Thank you. I mean, that was for 2022, but yeah, they named it Book of the Year in December. I was really astonished, honestly. I had no idea they were going to do that.
It's incredible. I'll send you a picture later. I was like with a picture like that, like, I mean, as if it was my book.
I love it. That's great.
And how excited are you that it's going to become a TV series?
I'm really excited. I don't know how it's going to turn out because I'm not writing that series. And I know that they're still deep in editing. or at least I think they are. But yeah, I mean, I'm just as excited as everyone. I really, I've read the scripts and they, you know, it is an adaptation and they do deviate from the book. It's just what they do in Hollywood. But we'll see. You know, I'm really excited to see what they've done.
And with super, super incredible and well-known actors. I mean, it's someone really fell in love with your story.
Well, Brie Larson called me early on and told me that she wanted to executive produce it and be the star, be Elizabeth Zott. So that was pretty exciting. She is really amazing. So I feel like, you know, I mean, just having her in the show, I know that that will change the whole thing because she's so good. But I
It's
didn't write it,
incredible.
so yeah, I mean, they do. I just saw someone said, I hope they don't deviate. They do. They Hollywood always changes the story. So I really don't know how it'll end up. We'll all discover it together on October 13th.
Well, we're super excited for that too. And it must be incredible for you to have your first published book become a TV series with incredible actors.
It's a real honor. It's just a privilege. You know, no matter what, I just know I've been really lucky to have gotten this group of people and they've been really dedicated. So we'll just see what happens.
Yes, we can't wait to see it.
Thank you.
Bonnie, I love this question, and let me just read it to you. It says, in a youth obsessed society with everything from young authors to young actors, how is it for you to, it says, it's the same question, like how difficult was it for you to get it published, but not just published, like garner attention and everything? Because I love the question, because ageism is in fact a thing, right?
Oh, it is. It is. And you know, I am so naive that I had never even considered that, because to me, most authors are invisible. And I never thought about when I read a book, how old the author was. I never considered that, which now I think is really naive. But yeah, it became a fascination. And the people I hear from most about that are really young people in their 20s who say, thank God you're not in your 20s and you wrote this book, because that gives me a lot more time. And that's exactly it. You have all the time. Take the time you need to write what you want to write. It's not a race, and you don't have to worry. Your computer, your story will still be there. It'll still be there. So you don't have to put all that extra pressure on yourself.
I love your answer, because I mean, it's incredible that it's something that, like, we don't notice. We talk about it all the time. Most of us are in our late 30s, early 40s, somewhere like that. And we're like, we feel that at 40, there's a lot of stuff that we can't do anymore. And this question, I mean, your answer to this question is just spectacular, and I didn't even notice. So that's spectacular, Bonnie. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny too. I also, when I was in my 40s, I was thinking, oh gosh, you know, I have so much I want to do. Can I still do any of this? I mean, most of it was athletic, honestly. And then I thought, you know, there are people my age doing everything at every age. So it doesn't really matter. Anyway, yeah, I think it's really great to have a book now out at this age, because honestly, it has just given these 20-year-olds hope, which I didn't think needed.
But it does. And it does. I mean, it's something I told you that we've discussed, that at 40, we sometimes feel that there's a lot of stuff that we can't do anymore. So seeing that you published a book and it's going to become a TV series and it's super popular and everything, is really, really inspiring. And it's incredible to see that it's something that you didn't even think. So it inspires us even more.
Oh, well, thank you. Honestly, it's been a really big shock to see how well the book has done, but I'm just really grateful for the whole thing. And most of it's been word of mouth. And that's been, you know, just the most wonderful feedback you could possibly get as an author. So it's great.
It is. And the cover is amazing. I mean, I think the cover has a lot to do in the popularity of the book, and the cover is spectacular.
You are so great. So most people hate the cover.
No.
So the book, Yes, the book has 40 different covers around the world. And like the Spanish cover in Spain is quite different. It's based on the British cover, but the covers really vary. And in the United States, that particular cover got a lot of bad feedback because people thought it was a romance novel, and then they read it and they realized it was not, and they were not happy with me, at all. So they're changing the cover for the paperback, but that one won't be out for a while.
Really, I loved it. I love I mean, it's
Well,
incredible. I love
good.
the picture. Yeah, we're all fans of the cover, so not everyone hated it.
Well,
And
it's really, it's funny because people think the author chooses the cover, but we don't really have any input. We have a little bit of input, but really nothing. We can say, oh, I like this or I like that, but in the end, the publisher
decides. Yeah. In Spanish, and I mean in Mexico, it's the same one. Just so you know.
Yeah.
Oh, no. There's another one. Oh, it's one of a TV. I don't know if you can see it. Two people are holding it up.
That's the British cover that they readapted. Yeah.
But over here, Mariana has another one. Oh my God, we have a lot of different covers here. I thought we all had this one. Guys, Bunny, do you mind if we take the picture right now that everyone has their book out?
Yeah, that's great.
Bueno, aprovechen, oigan, Maca, ándale. La voy a tomar yo. I'm going to take it. Just like hold your smiles because there are three different screens I have to take, okay? Wait. Let me take the other one. Don't move. And the last one, don't move. Last one. There we go. Thank you, Bonnie. I'm sorry to interrupt, but if not, people are going to come in and out of the Zoom, and then they always want to be in the picture. Let me look at the other question. Oh, this is a good one also. Have you ever worked in a male-dominated field of work like Elizabeth? And if so, what was it like?
Yes, I have. And in fact, that male-dominated field, which was technology, is what inspired the book. I had a really bad day at work one day where I was the only woman in the room, and I was presenting some concepts for an ad campaign because I'm a copywriter and a creative director. And so I'd finished doing that. And then after I did it, everyone acted as if I hadn't said anything. And then a few minutes later, somebody else in the room regurgitated everything I had just said and claimed those ideas were his. And I argued.
No way.
Oh, yeah. I argued with him, and it just went nowhere. And so I thought, as I was walking back to my office, I thought, how is it possible that this is still happening in this day and age? How is this possible? And so that day I went back to my desk, and I was on a deadline, but instead of working, I wrote the first chapter of Lessons in Chemistry.
Well, but a great thing came out of that sexy day at work.
Yeah, exactly. Channel the anger.
Yeah, a great channel. I mean, you did great with that anger. It's incredible that the story came out as part of your story. I mean, that makes it even more amazing.
Well, I think it was so funny when that day as I was walking back to my desk, I thought, how many women in the world, how much of our work has been wasted today by sitting in a meeting and having men pretend you're not sitting there, or that you're not contributing or stealing your ideas? How much of our effort has just been wasted? And then I started thinking about all the talent in the past that has been wasted. And the more and more I thought about that, the more and more I thought, I'm going to write about this.
It's incredible because, I mean, it's like, just like you said, we can't believe that in this day and age that those things keep happening and keep happening. I mean, if we show of hands, everyone here is gonna raise their hand because it does happen, and it's incredible that it still happens, and it's not just like a one-off. It happens daily. And
Right.
we've read a lot of books like on this subject. And what we say is we can't believe that the world is, maybe not now, but like in the past, half of the intelligence, half of the ideas, half of everything they didn't take into account because it came from a woman. I mean, it's amazing. Not in the
That
good
is
sense.
so true. It's shocking how many women's
Shocking.
inventions have been sidelined because a man did not want to be beaten by a woman. And so that I wanted in my book to write about a man who was not intimidated by a woman, but actually admired her intellect. And so that was really important to me when I was developing the character of Calvin, because there are men like that out there. And I wanted to make sure that I included men as a role model for other men to realize that, you know, if you're really intimidated by a woman's intellect, that's your problem. That shouldn't be her problem. And it shouldn't be the world's problem either, because we have a lot of problems to solve.
I know. And I mean, a lot of us have studies, and a lot of us has a lot of great ideas, and we need to be taken more into account. I mean, it doesn't happen as much right now, but it still happens, and it shouldn't.
Yeah, it's interesting because I hear from women all over the world every day, and especially women scientists say, you know, not that much has changed for us. It's still very sexist in our lab, but in other areas, women have really moved forward. But it is really interesting because, you know, STEM jobs are the most lucrative jobs, just about the most lucrative jobs in the world. And yet only about 28 to 32% of those jobs are held by women today. And that affects our economy. That affects how powerful we are. And the strange thing about that is that more and more women are getting degrees in STEM and actually represent the majority of STEM degrees right now, but then they're unable to get a job. So that's kind of interesting.
It is. Wow. And a lot of the questions you already answered, so let me go to the other one. Okay, my favorite character, and I already thought that it's your dog. It's based on your dog. We absolutely love him.
Oh.
Tell us about it. And I mean, it's difficult to give voice to a dog and have it like a main character, but still, it's still a book that doesn't go into fiction. I mean, it's incredible how you did it so that he is a main character and he talks to us and he predicts things and it's still believable.
Thank you. I really enjoyed writing him because he was based on a dog I had. She's gone now, unfortunately. Her name was Friday, but Friday was just super smart, and having her in our lives made me realize how much I had misunderstood about how capable animals are and how we always measure intelligence in terms of human intelligence. And so Friday knew a lot of words. She also knew words. She knew words in multiple languages, which I think is really interesting. But she was just so wise and sensitive. And that's really where 630 came from. Because when I wrote the book, I read everything I do out loud. And when I wrote the book, I was writing it when Friday was alive. And she listened to every word, because whenever any of us spoke, she'd always just look at us. And I think that's how she learned language. She didn't look away. She would just look right at us.
Oh, I follow her on Instagram, so I know, I didn't know that she's not here with us anymore, but I follow her on Instagram because that was, I mean, Elizabeth is a great character. They're all great characters, but 630, I mean, I started talking more to my dog and my husband is like, stop it. And I'm like, no, he understands. And maybe he one day will save my life.
You know, well, the dog on Instagram is actually a recurrent dog 99. So 99 is posing as 630. But yeah, I know I think she's so jealous of 630. But yeah, it's really important actually. As it turns out, the more you talk to your dog, the more they learn your language. And it's interesting too, because we don't bother to learn the animal's language, but they actually learn ours. So which one is smarter?
I know.
I'm starting to think that the dogs are. I just finished a book called How to Speak Whale. And I didn't know this. I mean, whales' songs are very complicated, but I didn't know this until I read it in the book, that they actually create rhymes in their songs. So their
Wow.
songs are extremely complicated and they're very cultural within their own pods. So what we don't know about animal intelligence is just amazing. We're at a huge deficit.
We are, and it's something that will blow our minds. I was reading about dolphins, and I think I read that their language is more complicated than ours. So it's just what you're saying. What we don't know will totally blow our minds when we just get to know them, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's our favorite. Well, I'm speaking for everyone. No, it's my favorite character. And another question is, how hard was it, like, for the publisher to say, like, okay, we'll make the dog a character that speaks and thinks and acts? Because we were like, I mean, was it easy, or were they like, no, dude, no, don't do that?
Well,
my
agent wasn't really fond of the idea. And I mean, she's come around and she's really helpful in the book. She was incredible. But no, she didn't like that either. And I finally said, you know what? He doesn't talk out loud. He's thinking. And we know for a fact all animals think. They make decisions every day. They understand language, human language, even though we don't understand what they're saying. And I said, they have brains. Their circuitry isn't that different from ours. And for us to think that they don't have thoughts, of course they have thoughts. They show you every day when you come home from work and they say, yay, you're home. And they understand, they're very sensitive. They have a better sense of smell than we do. They have better hearing than we do. They have a better, sometimes better eyesight, depending on the dog, than we do. And to have 3 senses be that heightened compared to us, I mean, they know a lot about what's going on in the world. So I think she finally came around. And then I think in terms of my publisher, they were also a little bit concerned. But then I kept saying, look, this is the character and this is the book. And then everybody was fine with it. And off we went. But I think they're a little bit worried.
I'm really glad that you stood your ground with that, because it's an integral part of the book. I don't know how it would have been without 630. So.
Well, it's really great to get feedback. I have such a great team, and I really got great feedback from my agent, especially, and then from my editors, and all of that was really helpful to me. But as a writer, you do need to know when to say, no, I'm not changing that or that. I'm positive this is what I want to do. So, if anyone out there is writing a book, just know, you just have to tell your story the way you see it.
Oh, that's a great piece of advice. And it's incredible because you stood your ground. I mean, I can imagine that it's a little bit more difficult to stand your ground when it's like your first book that's going to be published. And I mean, it's going to be way easier on your next book, whatever you want to write. I don't think they'll tell you anything, but maybe in this one, it was a little bit more difficult, right?
Yeah, it is. It really was, because you're in a very vulnerable position. You want to get published and you don't want to be arrogant. Luckily for me, because I'd worked as a copywriter for so long, I was used to getting feedback and criticism from all sorts of people all the time. And so it was easy for me to know how to respond. And because I'd been writing for so long, to say, no, you know what? I know for a fact this works. I just know you're going to have to trust me. And my team really did trust me, and my agent is just wonderful. So I've been really lucky to work with these people.
Incredible. The next ones are a little bit more personal. Someone wanted to know, do you like cooking, or was it like you had to get someone to teach you stuff?
Oh my gosh, I hate cooking. I know I'm a terrible cook. When I was writing the book, I wanted to make her, I wanted to have her on TV, which is why she ended up hosting this cooking show, because back then, I don't think women would have been on a TV show if it hadn't been something to do with the home. And so I thought, well, she'll be a cook. And then I thought, I'm not a cook, but I'm not a chemist either. So, it's fine. You just, as a copywriter, you always write what you don't know. So it worked out fine. I just had to do a lot of research. And I really have a lot of admiration for people who cook well. Like my husband cooks really well, thank God. So
Thank God, one of you
yeah,
guys.
I am really lucky to have someone who loves to cook. So, and I say, well, I don't want to hold back, let him, I'd like to have him be happy cooking. So I'm happy to have him do it. And he loves it. I do it too, but not as well as he does. So I think he has a passion for it, and that really matters.
That matters, and it's incredible that one of you doesn't like to cook. So it's like the perfect balance, Bunny.
That's what I think. That's what I think. My kids are really good cooks too. So I feel like we're covered.
You are. In my house, I hate cooking. My husband hates cooking. Everyone hates cooking. So we don't have a balance here. So yours is perfect.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, that's hilarious.
We use Uber Eats a lot.
Oh my gosh. I don't know how people do it, honestly. There are just so many instructions, and then you have to do this in another pan. And I just lose my focus immediately. And I never follow the instructions. So I just appeared. Do you know who Nadia is? She was on the British baking show, and she has her own television show. I was just on a panel with her, and she's just such an excellent cook. And I thought, I literally have none of the skills this woman has.
Well, but she doesn't have yours, so it's another balance.
Oh my gosh. Well, she's the greatest. Anyway.
So, okay, cooking, no, and that was gonna be my next question. Why was her, why did you want to make her a scientist? You wanted her in a male-dominated world in that time, right?
Exactly. I wanted her in a male-dominated world, although it turns out my research showed that every single world was male-dominated except for the homemaker. And so I really could have chosen anything. I was reading about women musicians at that time. There just weren't, women composers weren't taken seriously. And so I could have really put it anywhere, but because I knew I wanted her on television, that was the only thing I could think of, was to put her on a TV show, have her cook. That meant she had to be a chemist. So I had to learn old chemistry, which was a little bit hard, but that's really how I settled on that. And it turned out to be really great. While the chemistry was a little bit of an uphill battle, I had to use a really old textbook. In the end, I learned a lot about why chemistry is so important to our world and to our bodies and our minds. And so I'm really glad that I did it.
It's incredible. And it's something that you had to investigate and then try to put it in the same thing as the cooking, which are things that you didn't know. So you had to do a lot of research.
Yeah, a lot of research. Yeah, I did. But I also put in rowing, and I'm a rower. I didn't have to research that. It was really, thank God, there was one thing I didn't have to research.
That's another question. I think Laura, these are Laura's questions. And she asked, why rowing? You answered, you're a rower then. Wow.
Well, part of it was that, but part of it from studying chemistry, I realized early on that they call chemistry the central science because it rules all the other sciences, basically, that and physics. Yeah. And with chemistry, it's the science of balance. You can't have an unbalanced chemical equation. And in the book, there's a balance between dark and light, and rowing is the sport of balance. And so I wanted to have this underlying theme of balance, because when we have conflict in the world, whether it's climate change or sexism at work, it's really what we're seeing as an imbalance that is an unnatural imbalance. We are meant to be balanced. We operate better when we're balanced. So if there's a problem at work between men and women, that's not natural, that's cultural.
It is. And do you think things have changed? Obviously they've changed, but are we there yet? Are we or near the point where it's not even an issue anymore?
We're not there yet.
I thought you were going to answer that. I wanted you to have an uplifting answer.
Okay, I'll say this: we've gotten better. When I started doing research into that era, I realized that was my mother's era. I hadn't even realized that, but women back then, they couldn't even have a bank account in their name. They couldn't have their own money. They didn't have a right to their husband's paycheck. It's just been an uphill battle. And I think, yeah, we still have a long way to go, but we've made some strides. So we have to really look back and say, yay, we made those strides, but it means we still have to keep going.
There's still work to do.
Oh, there's still work to do.
Someone just put in the chat, Mariana, that it's, according to studies, it's at least 150 years to close the gender gap. That is not so uplifting.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I hope we've already done 114 of those years.
I know.
Because I'm sick of it now.
I know, but it's just like something you read constantly in books. It's amazing. I'm reading right now a book in a historical novel, and it's set in ancient Rome, and it's incredible. They were not allowed to do anything, and still there are some women in some countries, in some parts of even our country, that are not allowed to do a lot of things. So we still have work to do. You are right.
Yeah, that's really true. And, I've been really surprised to read, to hear from women all over the world and hear what they're facing right now in their workplace. It's just not that different from the 50s, which is really shocking.
It is. It is. And I was really surprised in your book when the part about Elizabeth, when she, when her boss, like, basically raped her. I mean, that's something that still happens. And it was like, it still happens, and men still blame women, and women are still, I mean, our country, I don't know how much you know about our country, but there's a lot of female murders that are just, they're called feminicidios. I don't know if there's like a literal translation, but just because you're a woman, and they kill you just because you're a woman, and it's a huge problem here in our country, and it goes beyond just like, I don't know, the pay gap. It goes way beyond that, and it's really, really like worrisome in our country. Besides all the other issues, right? It's something else that we have to worry. And we talk about it all the time, and we're like, it's not fair, and it's very stressful, like for people like our age to have teenagers, or like our girls. We want to teach them that they are totally in control, and they can do whatever they want and dress however they like and whatever. But then we have the other part that it's like, well, yes, but, and it's really difficult to educate teenagers in, well, yes, but, because you don't want to teach the but you have to, right?
Yeah. And, I completely agree with you on this. I was doing an event, and it was sort of funny. At one point in the event, a man was asking me a question about the book from the audience. And he said, well, at least you've had the Me Too movement happen, and now sexual assault is, it's gone. And the audience went crazy.
I can imagine.
Yeah, they were like, what are you talking about? And, he meant it. He was just so, he didn't mean it. Well, he was obviously not very well informed. And so I had to tell him that 1 in 6 American women will be assaulted in their lifetime, sexually assaulted. In Britain, it's 1 in 5 women. And that's a very astoundingly high statistic. And he said, well, I don't understand that. That would mean that I'd know lots of women who have been sexually assaulted. And I said, yeah, yes, you do. Women. And the thing is that women can't report it because they're not believed, or it's humiliating, or whatever it is, or they're afraid. There are lots of reasons why women don't come forward, and there are good reasons for them not to come forward. And yet this idea persists, at least with men, that it's gotten better. But in fact, it's starting, I think, in the United States to get worse. And that's really frightening for women.
It is. And it's something that we talk about all the time, that men tend to say, well, the Me Too movement, you have a lot, like that stopped everything, right? And it's right. Like, no, it doesn't stop. And for some people, it even got worse. So right. Like for them to be so, I don't know, like not colorblind, but like for them to be so blind at this
Yeah.
issue is, at this gender issue is, I don't know, it's like mind blowing, but like in a bad way.
Yeah, I had a friend whose two older sons were kind of making fun of her because she was worried about the neighborhoods that they're living in. They're grown up. And she said, well, your neighborhoods are dangerous. And they said, oh, you make such a big deal about that. And I said, you know what? The reason why you don't have to make a big deal about that is because you're male. But there isn't a woman in the world who can walk to a car in the dark and not feel afraid. And if you get to do that, that's your privilege that you're ignoring. It's an unconscious bias that you harbor, but the rest of us don't have that experience. And, they're sort of like, oh, well, yeah. And I said, your mother weighs 120 pounds. What is she going to do? So yeah, it's an uphill battle. That one's a really big one.
It is a big one, but I think that's how you like educate the next generation.
Exactly.
By telling them, because I have two boys and my husband, so I'm the only woman in the house. And I constantly tell them that you guys don't know what it means to be a woman in this country, what it means to be a woman, like walking outside alone in the dark. There are things that men don't think about that we think about since we're 9 years old. So books like this that are like, that tell it, but in a nice way, I think, get the issue out there. And I think that it's really important.
Oh, well, good. Luckily the book has been adopted into a lot of schools, and it's even been adopted into some boys' schools. And I love that because, as one dean said to me, boys need to know this and learn this right now at age 13 or 14. They need to be exposed to this right now so they can see how ridiculous it is that women are treated this way, and think about the impact, think about what they talk about with their female classmates. And, actually these guys, it was a boys' school. They don't have any female classmates, but interesting because the boys from that school, there are a couple of them have written me to tell me, how much the book has meant to them, how much they've seen girls and women in a different way, and how they really didn't think about how much bias they bring to everyday encounters with girls or women. And that's been really uplifting, because there was one kid who wrote me and said that after reading the book, he turned to his mom and he said, why do you let dad talk to you that way?
Wow.
Yeah, he said, I hadn't realized how my father always puts her down. And he said, now I see it. So that part is, part of it's really great like that these boys are actually saying, I don't want to be like Donati. That's not who I will be. I want to be Calvin.
It is. I got goosebumps. Look, I got goosebumps because what an incredible legacy, Bunny. It's amazing. I don't know if you can like grasp all of the things that you are doing with your books, but it's amazing, and it's an amazing legacy. And I hope you write a million more books.
I'm trying to write one.
But I can't help be distracted by all of your books, and I'm trying like to listen to you and read the covers and everything. It's an incredible spot.
Yeah, no, it's so funny. So many of these are the book into other languages,
Really?
So yeah, there's just a million. It's like this one.
Wow, I like that one.
Yeah, so there are just so many. It's really, let's see if I have, let's see, what do I have? All these strange, this one's a little bit funny.
Oh, that one I hadn't seen that one.
Yeah, this is Serbia.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many languages have you been translated into?
Well, I'm up to 40.
Oh my God. Wow.
I know. I'm feeling pretty lucky. I just heard last week that Vietnam and Indonesia just bought the book. So it's really going far.
I'm so glad. I'm so happy for you. And I'm so thankful that you are like so down to earth and answer. I I swear that when I wrote to you, I was like, well, she's not going to answer me. I mean, she's like super famous. So I'm so thankful that you're so down to earth and you answered and you're here with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Honestly, I was really excited to hear from you. And, it's been a long time since I've been in Mexico, but I love Mexico. So of course I was going to do.
You should come. I think you should come again.
Okay. Oh, all right.
Yeah. Make the sacrifice and come to a
I'll
beach.
make the sacrifice.
Let me see. Do any of you guys have any questions? Well, Bonnie, before we go to the questions, well, they put their hands up. This is something we ask all of our authors. What are you reading right now? And like, tell us some of your favorite books.
Okay, so what I'm reading right now will probably sound really strange, but I am on the committee for the Royal Science Prize, and so I'm reading 52 science books.
Wow.
But I have to say some of them are just fantastic, and so I'm really excited about that. But I guess I'm not really supposed to say what I'm reading since we're trying to come up with
I don't.
long.
Yeah.
But I did just read Ann Patchett's new book. It's called Tom Lake, and that comes out in, I think, August. So it's coming out pretty soon.
Yeah,
and I thought
love
that
her.
was really, really good.
I'm writing it down.
Okay.
We always
Yeah,
write like recommendations.
Yeah, and let's see. What else did I just read that I really like? Because I'm reading all these science books, I've had to put fiction aside, which is,
I know.
yeah, I know. I went, oh, that's a lot of books to read, but they've been, a lot of them have just been so fascinating. So actually, this book is not on the list, but there is a book coming out soon that you might be interested in. It's called Eve. And it's also nonfiction. It's a science book, but it is actually about how women's bodies work and how different the women's body functions and her brain and everything from a man. And it is absolutely fascinating. You'll learn every single little detail about your body you never knew. And the more you read this book, the more you realize how we are incredible. We're so strong. We're so smart. And the way we've evolved, our bodies have evolved, has really meant that, for instance, that there's not a man in the world probably who could outswim a woman in a long distance swim. Women will always be able to go. I know, little weird facts like that. And it's just because of the way we're built, and because women come with a little bit more built-in endurance than men, and women have a higher pain threshold.
No, definitely.
Yeah. So that book is really interesting, and that is coming out. I think that comes out pretty soon, actually. But it's called Eve, and it's by Kat Bohannon.
Right, the author. I love the little fun fact.
I do too. The book is kind of funny too. She's a good writer, and so it's really easy. It's long, and yet, for me, it was such a fast read because it's just absolutely fascinating.
I'm glad it's coming out soon. I already put it down, and we always take pictures, and like everything the authors recommend, we put it on our WhatsApp page. So I think she'll sell a lot of books here in Mexico.
Oh, that sounds great. That sounds great.
We have several questions. Do you still have time?
Yep.
Lau?
Hi, hello. I'm super excited. Thank you for being with us. Your book was one of my favorite books from last year. It took a time for me to grab it. Like, I kept seeing it, but I was like, I thought it was one of those like romance novels. But then I was like, no, I cannot end the year without reading a novel book of the year. And I just loved it. It was nothing that I'd expected. I have so many quotes, and probably my favorite, it's your mother needs a moment for herself, because we all as mothers need a moment for ourselves. Yeah. But I really admire you, because it's not like writing, it's you don't lose your skills. Your skill sets do not decline with age, and you're proof of that. And that's just amazing. Like, we as mothers, we like tend to put a pause on our lives to raise kids. And it's amazing what you've created. My question is, I read about you, and I read that Elizabeth Zott was inspired by a previous character from a book that you didn't finish. And can you tell us more about her journey? And will there be a book about Matt in the future?
Oh, okay. So interesting. You should ask that. So Elizabeth Zott was in a previous novel I'd started a long time ago. She was only in for 3 sentences, and she was indeed the mother of Mad, but Mad was grown. Mad was the protagonist. She was 30 years old, and she had a young daughter. And interestingly enough, again, Elizabeth Zott was only in there for 3 sentences. For some reason, I knew that she was a cooking show host, she was a chemist, and she was depressed. That's all I had. So for some reason, she just kept living on in my soul. But that book, it wasn't going down a good path, I could tell. And so I gave up on that and I set it aside. But it's kind of funny because people ask me all the time, are you writing a sequel? And I'm not right now, but I always think that book started out with Mad in the kitchen and with her young daughter. And writing that book is how I knew how to write Mad as a young child, because I know how she turns out as an adult. So maybe in the future that'll be resurrected, but right now I'm doing something else.
Please resurrect it soon. 100% we want to read it.
Well, we'll see.
I'm sorry, Lau, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. Thank you. And yeah, we would love to. At least all of us. We're about 100 here, so we will buy that book. And well, I don't know. There's so many things that I want to say. Like, I love how on that age, at that time, like marriage and motherhood was like legalized slavery. How you put it in the book, it was like mind blowing, the book. So I just loved it. Thank you so much for writing this.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being such a great reader.
It's just that I think I totally agree with Laura, because it speaks to us on so many levels, like as a mother, as a woman, as a professional, as a wife, as a friend, as it speaks on so many levels to so many women. I think that's why it's such a well-written book, because it's so well-rounded. And it talks about, because I mean, motherhood is amazing and everything, what everyone says, but it really is a struggle also, because you lose part of yourself, and men don't understand it. They are incredible fathers, but it's not the same thing. This is something that only another woman, another mother understands. And the book speaks to that part.
Yeah, and I think, I'm hoping male readers, when they discover this book, they'll come away thinking, wow, how great to be a woman and have this connection. I mean, wow, maybe I wouldn't want to be treated the way Elizabeth Zott is, but how much power she has, and how great this connection is between her and her friends and her child.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah, we'll see.
Vane.
Hi, Bonnie. I am also in love with your book. I told the whole group in our WhatsApp chat that it's been a long time since I had a book that I couldn't put down. And I was out having drinks or food with friends, and I was like, I want to go home. I want to keep reading. And that only happens for me with thrillers. And this is clearly not a thriller. So it blew my mind how you put up so many very strong, hard issues, but in a very elegant way.
Thank you.
Because Nora sometimes picks books that are really like, no, I want to keep reading this. And this was like, it's something we can all relate to, but in a very elegant, funny. I thought it was very funny.
Thank you.
I just loved it. And I wanted to thank you, because I think I'm very privileged, and I sometimes struggle to identify with this feminist struggle or fight, or I don't believe violence can solve that. But again, I'm very privileged. So I found very interesting the way you uplifted this feminism, because to me, Elizabeth was a very girly girl. Even though she wore like pants or whatever, she was a very girly girl. And even though she didn't want it to be a mother when she got pregnant, she just loved math and raised her to be very independent. And she worked, and she didn't put up with the Hastings Institute or whatever. So that, to me, I could very much relate to that feminist struggle. And I don't know, I just wanted to ask you how you support this feminist thing in the world, because that, to me, that was very, very relatable. And if we all as women can just like non-violently stand for what we believe and that are our rights, but still, conserve our feminist, girly, I mean, anyone how they want, right? And I don't know, I'm making it too long.
No, you're absolutely right. I think it's really the culture that is the culprit. Society is the culprit. Men are raised a certain way in certain places, and women are raised a certain way, and those messages become ingrained, whether or not they have any scientific basis or not. And so, one of the things that I've been really talking about lately is if we were teaching young children, and I mean really young, at 4 or 5 years of age, about genetics very early on, and genetics isn't that hard to understand, it would be really interesting to see a whole generation of children understand how genetics works. And if they did, they would immediately see that sexism and racism make no sense at all, because these are social constructs that we've constructed. In fact, of course, it turns out there is no such thing as gender, and there is no such thing as race. And yet the world has been divided over these issues for a long time. Wars have been fought, people have died, it's horrible. And it has no scientific basis. And so I was just thinking, when Elizabeth tells the children at the end, children set the table, your mother needs a moment to herself. My idea with that was that Elizabeth would be talking to the future generation and saying, your mother is worthy of respect. And so I'm teaching you already that you should always respect your mother, but also that a chemist is saying that. And so I keep thinking that if we had a little more science, especially genetics for children early on, which is a really fun thing for kids to study, it's really fun, that they would really start to understand that these messages that they get from the other part of the world, the culture, don't make much sense to them, don't fit in with their world. And then we would slowly begin to change this culture in a much better way.
I love it. Thank you so much. And thank you for presenting also the Calvins and the Walters in the book, because we have one male representative here in our group, Antonio, and he's always very supportive. So I don't believe men are the enemy. I am totally against that. So yes, there are some Donatis in the world, of course, but there's also bad women in the world. So, and I just love Harriet. Yeah. Harriet is my absolute best. Her, she and 630. And even though I'm not a very animal loving person, I don't own pets, but I want to adopt 630.
Oh, I know.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that.
And so basically the answer is education, Bunny. I mean, what you're saying is that's what's needed to end racism, to end intolerance, to end ageism, to end every problem in the world is solved by education. And that's like really important. It's like a major statement, right?
Yeah, to me, I think really that is it. And, I think also we tend to underestimate how eager kids are to learn or how much they can learn. And we sometimes we're taught growing up, science is hard or math is hard. Well, if you learn it early on, it's actually a lot easier on everyone. I mean, I I personally hate math, but I suppose if I'd maybe gotten a better start in it, maybe things would be different, but I didn't. And I don't think I can go back and even conjure any interest in it. But it is so in me, you know, they sometimes I'll hear people say, well, I've always hated, you know, science. And I always think because you had a boring science teacher, you know.
Yes,
Yeah, so education
is
goes a
the
long way.
answer. Yeah, education goes a long way. And something
Yeah.
that Vane mentioned that I didn't talk about, I mean, I forgot it, the importance of like your women friendships, the importance of women friendships, and like I mean, it's like the saying that it takes a village. It does, but it takes a village of your female, like your mother and your grandmother and your aunt and your friends, and it does take a village to raise a child, but it's the importance of female friendships. Not that I'm understating male friendships, but female friendships, they form different bonds. It's super, super important. And you put it in the book and it was marvelous. And I don't know why I forgot to say it until now.
Well, thank you. No, I'm glad that you see that in the book. And you just mentioned bonds, and that's really what the book is about. Because every day, in all ways, from cooking to really anything that you do, you're constantly in this mode of breaking bonds and creating new bonds. But bonds between women are super important. And one of the reasons why they're super important is that we actually need more support because we continue to be on the lower rung where we actually don't belong. Our brains aren't any less, our intellect isn't any less, even our strength isn't even any less than a man's. It's different, but it's not even that different. And so, you know, I think it'd be really interesting if we concentrated a little bit more on education, science education.
I know. And math, maybe.
Yeah, maybe math. I'm not.
We have 3 more questions. Do you have time, Bunny?
Yeah.
Thanks. Carmen?
Hi, Bunny. Thanks for being here with us.
Carmen, I think I took your question. I saw your.
Yeah, you took my question, but Bunny, I wanted to thank you because this is a great book. I read it in 2 days. I was like, please, my 2 Saturdays are going to be especially to enjoy the book. And I was about to talk about what Nora just said about the importance of the women and the men that make your friends in life. Because not only Harriet helped Elizabeth in a very, very big way, like without Harriet, who was going to take care of Matt while she worked, you know, but also like Mrs. Frask, I think it was her name,
Right.
that she noticed that they had more in common and that they could do more together being friends than being enemies. Because normally I work, and if you see, I have my pencil with me because I decided that to every meeting I was going to bring my pencil to remind myself I'm the only woman on the whole office that goes into the board. So I feel you when you say they don't take you into consideration. They just ignore you. Sometimes they even come into the meeting and say hello to everybody except to me, like I am here, you know? So this is like just a very small, nice reminder of I can do it. But also the bonding between the women, but also the bonding with Harry. That's his name, right? He helped Elizabeth in a very friendly way, not looking at her as a woman. Like he always mentions, she's pretty, but it's not that I admire.
Right.
And I like that because I personally have a lot of men friends. And I remember my mother when I was young saying, that's not normal, that's not good, that's not positive. And I even went on vacations with only male friends. And my father was like, you're not my daughter. You're not my daughter. And I was like, what? I mean, they're my friends. I don't have to like them. They don't have to like me like a woman, just like a friend. That's it.
Right.
So I think that's the part I enjoyed most about the book, like the bonds you made from friends, women friends and men friends that can be possible. And I want just to tell you a little story. Mariana there is my friend from Praga. She's here in the Zoom with us. I was on WhatsApp with her saying, I just love this book. You have to read it. And she said, I just finished the book. She's in Praga. I'm in Monterrey in Mexico. And then she took 2 pictures of the 2 quotes that she underlined. And I sent her the same underlined quotes.
Wow,
So-
what quotes were they?
So
What
just,
quotes, Carmen? Bonnie's
Oh.
asking what quotes.
I think it was the one of boys, you need to set the table. Mariana, can you help me there? If you remember.
It was the one where Harriet says, at least that's what I've read on magazines.
Oh, yeah.
You have to make time for yourself. At least that's what I've read on magazines.
Yeah.
And then when she says, I also do have a longing, I long for real love.
Oh,
And I was
yeah.
on the subway in Prague and I was,
And we found out that we were connected even when reading a book, like underlining the same stuff. So it's
Oh.
very, like, I have a Harriet. I have a lot of Harriets in my life. I have Harrys also. And just the book is amazing. It's not like Roth writes in the article that was a positive one. Your book is not just a book. It's a lesson for life. Like, I really,
Oh.
really love it.
Thank you, Carmen. I appreciate that.
Thank you for being with us, Bunny. It's
Oh,
very,
thank
very
you.
nice.
My pleasure.
And Bunny, let me tell you, I generally choose books that are, I don't know, with complicated subject matters, like, I don't know, pedophiles and rapes and murders and stuff like that. So when I put this book, they were like, and Carmen just told me like 2 months ago, she was like, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to take a break. This is the last book. And then I'm going to take like the whole summer and then I'll be back. And then like you accepted the Zoom. And I was like, okay, we're going to move everything and we're going to read this one. And she was like, okay, then I'll stay. So they're like, this book is a breath of fresh air after what you make us read.
Oh, that is
So
so funny.
everyone is surprised, but we all loved it.
I love hearing that. That's hilarious.
I'm
So
sorry,
you
Bunny,
made
just-
Carmen stay.
You did. And in the end, I'm sorry, but I was also saying this has a lot of strong, dark stuff. I mean, but you make us laugh about it. You make us see it in a very funny way. But in the end, it has a lot of the same issues that we see in other books. But it's
But
just
elegant, like Vanessa says.
it's just positively, elegantly managed. So that's amazing.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Carmen. Maca,
Yes.
are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hello, Bonnie.
Hi,
Thank you
Marcia.
for being with us today. I was wondering throughout, this whole conversation, whether you chose to speak to the industry in which you worked for a long time when you created Elizabeth, because what I find fabulous about her is that you don't make her a victim, but there's this little message that I think Garmus was telling us about, that you keep reminding us that she's lovable for every other reason that is not her looks, right?
Mhm.
So I was wondering, because you come from advertising, right?
Yes.
So that's a very sexist, or it can
Exactly.
become a very sexist job sometimes. So I was
Yeah.
wondering if it was your response to that in a way of, I'm fed up with all of you guys sort of way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And to be honest, when I was writing Elizabeth Zott first, I just made her average looking. And then I realized they wouldn't have put her on television in that era if she was just average. And also because she had no cooking, really, TV experience or any skill that seemed like it was remotely television oriented. And then the more I thought about it, I thought, oh no, I'm going to make her really attractive because she'll be taken even less seriously at work as a scientist.
Of course.
even more unjust. She will have to deal with all these men hitting on her all the time, which is just horrible for her. And she just wants to be herself. She's very unapologetic. She doesn't want to be, this woman that everyone thinks she should be. She wants to be Elizabeth Zott. And I think for me, it's her fight to be Elizabeth Zott that fueled the entire book, that she just wants to be who she is. And
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry. I'm so
great.
I'm just thinking, you make her unapologetic and you make her whole story a fight, basically. But again, she's not a victim, but you do remind us, and you choose to make a point of saying women are victims and she is a victim, because she's raped at the beginning of the book. So I was wondering if there was some meaning to that, like you coming from advertising, you know what you want to produce in people, what you want to generate. So whether this was a sort of message you're saying, stop with the victimization and go for whatever you want to go,
Well, I think that women are treated oftentimes as if they're victims. And, this is a thorny area because for some women, it's, something, especially if you've been raped, something incredibly difficult to get past, even talk about. And with Elizabeth Zott, what I wanted to do was show a woman, because no matter what, if you've had a really serious assault, that is, you have to live with that. So how do you choose to live with that? You let the assailant win and take away your self-respect and self-esteem, or do you rise above somehow? And with Elizabeth Zott, what I did with, and I kind of regret, I really regret, I took out this one paragraph that I wish I'd left in. It was all about why she put the pencil in her hair. It was not only to remind her that she had strength, but that the pencil has an eraser on the end. And a lot of bad things happen to everybody in the world every single day. No one gets out alive, obviously, but no one gets out unscathed. Everybody has to go through something or multiple things. But on the end of that pencil is an eraser. And Elizabeth Zott talks a lot about how, scientists use pencils because they know they're going to make mistakes. The purpose of the eraser is not to take away the mistake, because you can erase something, you can still see what it says, but it's very faint. But to not let it dominate you, to not let it define you, because you have to move on. And that's how you end up winning in the end.
Well, I just want to thank you. I think this is a flawless book. I enjoyed it from cover to cover. And you gave me a lot of smiles because you reminded me of my grandmother.
Oh.
She was a true hero in her ways. I'm in Chile, in South America. So, it's a very conservative country, and she was quite the woman during her younger years. So thank you very much.
Oh,
the book was perfect.
Thank you.
Gracias, Maca. We have one last question, Bonnie.
Okay.
Caro.
Hello, Bonnie. Hello, everybody. Hi. I love the book. I think it will be the best of the year. I mean, it's amazing all the subjects, what they mentioned, right? At the end, in the last 15% of the book, I read it on Kindle, I start crying with the quote where Matt tells her mother, I haven't stopped being chemistry. And then the kid, she says, yes, you have.
Yeah.
Because you are working in something that it was not. Well, it hit me like, whoa. Because I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I quit the career to raise the kids and stay at home. And I told them, I have a master's degree, I have engineering, and they said, and they have told me sometimes, and you're here, Mom, with us. Yes, because I decided.
Yeah.
And it's if I mean, the book hit me in a lot of things that then I highlighted don't stop that your talent stay latent. Like create your own future. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do, because right now I'm in my 40s and my kids, the oldest is 10. So like Nora said, I mean, there's a lot of things to do from here until they start growing and they leave the house in some moment. But in the meantime, I take from this call and everything, the education. I mean, if I'm going to be here, I need to be doing something like more. I mean, there's nobody taking care of them but me. So I take a big work.
You know,
it's a huge job, Caro.
Yeah, I know, it's a serious job, and my husband and the kids, they did this letter that welcome to your new world. When I went back from work the first day, they were waiting with balloons and everything, because they know I was quitting something important for me, and I was taking something bigger.
Oh, good for you. That's incredible. Oh,
Thanks.
good for you. You know, it's funny how even today I'll talk to stay-at-home moms and they'll almost talk as if what they've done doesn't count as much as a real job, or it's really, you know, this is another cultural thing. Of course it counts. And the experience that you get taking care of two human beings, I mean, you're a lifesaver, you know, you're a cook, you're all these different things, you're an educator. You have your skill set actually grows. It doesn't shrink. And then you take it back when you want to go back to work. You take all that experience back, and then you really start to rule. I mean, you really do, because you have experience that so many other people don't have.
Thank you.
That's a great answer. But it's true what Bonnie says. A lot of people think that it's not important, that you stop working. I worked at United Nations for 10 years, and then I stopped to take care of my kids, and everyone was like, you are going to regret it. It's the worst decision ever. And there are times when I wish I hadn't, but most of the time I'm happy with my decision, and the kids know you're there, Caro, and that's really important. Really important.
It's really important. I cannot believe, when I had kids, when my kids were young, and there'd be this sort of war between the working moms and the stay-at-home moms. No matter which one you were still working. And the stay-at-home moms, the ones who had a job in the workplace, had to come home and keep working. So they knew very well that the stay-at-home moms were not having an easy time of it. I never understood that war between the women, but I really hope that goes away, because we really need each other. And that was one of the functions of Harriet in that book. Harriet is who saves Elizabeth, because women need each other.
That's just what I was going to say. You beat me to it, but it's true. There was, like, at what time, a war between, oh my God, you don't work, and oh my God, you work and don't take care. But I think it's really changing, Bonnie. I've seen like a change in that paradigm, and it's like really uplifting, because it's the message that what we were saying, the importance of your female friendships and like being there for one another. And this group, we're mostly women. Right now we have one, and we've had one and then maybe 2 or 3 other men, but we've grown together, and we've like been there for each other. And it really is important, the female friendship. Not
it really is.
Like,
I just want to say that when I was a mom, I was a working mom, working outside the home mom. And yet I had 2 male friends who were the stay-at-home dads. And it was really interesting talking to them about their experience, because they'd always say, people think we're weird, or we're suspect, or they think we're like the best thing that has ever happened on planet Earth. Because they both did really good jobs. Their kids are great, and it was their choice. That's what they wanted to do. and it worked out.
It's incredible. Bonnie, thank you so much for your time, for your answers, for your book, for everything. We're super excited. I mean, you've seen, all of us are, your book makes us happy. It's a book that makes people happy. It has a lot of issues, a lot of strong, dark issues, but you do it in a great way that you make us happy. So keep writing.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I was so happy to get your invitation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here with us. We're really happy. I don't know if anyone wants to say anything else. There are a lot of messages there, and I'll send you the picture later on, Bonnie.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for everyone for, all of your nice messages and everything. It was just great for me.
Thank you so much.
Bonnie.
Thank you.
We'll be waiting in October for the series and for your next book very anxiously.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a
Bye.
great night.
You too.
Bye-bye.